We're going to answer a question that I've had many times, which is how much do you actually get as far as kilometers or miles go on a standard range Tesla Model 3 in extremely cold temperatures? So to give this the fairest test, you can see I have this parked currently at my office's temperature controlled parkade. I have charged the vehicle up. It had about 100 Ks when I dropped off, so about 60 miles this morning. And now it will be 100% full. All right. All right. So, you'll note it, yeah, 353 kilometers. How exciting. What I've done to make this again fair is, in addition to charging it up at my office in a temperature controlled setting, which as you can see is 14 degrees Celsius, is that I've also set the limit to charging to be the maximum that the battery can do, which most people will tell you you shouldn't do. Most people will tell you you should leave it at a stop charging about 80%. But I've charged this all the way up so we can see what we get in this extreme cold. As you can see, it's going to be ranging from -10 Fahrenheit to about somewhere around -30 Fahrenheit. So it's freaking cold. So let's see how many kilometers I actually get out of this full tank of electrons. We'd like to interject for just 10 seconds to ask you to click like if this is the kind of thing that you like. It really helps us with the Google algorithm. And if you're interested in electric vehicles, the energy industry, high technology, things like that, please click subscribe because that's the kind of thing we talk about. Thanks, back to the show. To be clear, I will be parking this inside my unheated, poorly insulated garage, and I have a video showing what happens when you charge at 110 volts as opposed to 240. Yeah, I'll put a little link in the top right hand corner here, and shocker, you'll be surprised. It's quite different from what people say in the forums and what I was told. So if you don't have a charger or don't want to put a charger in for some reason, say you're in an apartment building or something like that, you might want to take a look at that. But in this case, I will not be charging it up at home. We also created a video a few weeks ago showing how the two-wheel drive Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, which is this vehicle, drives in pretty heavy snow. And once again, you'll be probably quite surprised at that. So I'll put a link in the top right-hand corner. It's shockingly better than you would have expected. Okay, so after 14 kilometers, which is about 9 miles, we're sitting at -24. And one of the other questions I've got quite a lot is how are the all-season tires that shipped with the vehicle on extremely cold tarmac? And the answer is not as good as it is on warmer tarmac, but just fine. I'm not slipping and sliding too much. And the traction control has not turned on too much. It's been quite reasonable. All right, I'm heading out of the city now, and it says -26. As you get out of the city, things get a little cooler. So one of the interesting things is that the vehicle itself can't be that cold yet, because I still have some pretty good regen. Now it kicks in pretty hard, and yeah, so there is, look, I'll just do that. You can see in the top left there that there's considerable amount. All right, let's get up to speed. And you'll note that I'm not driving above 114 kilometers per hour on the highway here. That's about 61, 62 miles per hour, so a very reasonable highway speed. Most of the driving I do will be in the city. Well, that's not fair, but it's going to be about half and half. But so it's going to be a nice fair measurement. But right now it is showing as -28. That is cold. All right, so now I'm sitting in my garage, and my commute is 22 kilometers, but I made a stop. And so that stop added 3 kilometers. So I'm now at, let's call that 25 kilometers. The battery is still not marked as cold. I don't have the snowflake there, so it thinks it's reasonable. And I have 306 kilometers left according to that, which makes the actual consumption of the battery about twice as much as it is flagging. It has used 48 kilometers and I have driven 24.8. So we're just, for sake of rounding, we'll use that as a 2-to-1 ratio. You can see that's pretty terrible. This is the 402 kilometer standard range plus. It's 18 months old. It never charges past 350 something. And I've taken it into Tesla to verify, and they say, yep, that's exactly the number it should be at for an 18-month-old standard range plus. So I've actually taken it back twice to have them look at it, and that's what they tell me. So my 402 kilometer battery charges to 354, and I'm probably going to get about half of that. Now, here's my expectation, and we'll find out if this actually works. My expectation is that I'm going to get about 200 kilometers out of this in the winter. In the summer, I can tell you in highway driving, I have another video I put up, which I'll put a flag in the top right-hand corner for, with excellent weather, nice and warm, in the summer, on a flat prairie highway, I could get 250 kilometers out of my battery, which I think is pathetic. And as such, I just don't use this car for long drives anymore. I use my wife's Mazda CX-5, which is an amazing and wonderful vehicle. This is limited now to be my city vehicle. So, as I said, my expectation is that I'll get somewhere around 200 kilometers out of this. Maybe 180, somewhere in that range anyway. And I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated by that. They're going to say that that's, you know, really bad and it's terrible. And yeah, I guess I'll give you that. But I will say that I don't much care. My commute to work is 22 kilometers. So if I plug it at home or at work, I don't care. My car is always full. I don't care. As long as the thing's got 100 and change or kilometers, you know, 60 miles, I'm fine. So I'm frustrated with Tesla's overpromise, underdeliver, which they do a lot of. But as far as the actual battery goes, I don't care if it's actually 200 kilometers in extreme cold. Okay, so I'm out of my car and I want to show you my garage. You can see I have it insulated around the outside. The rafters, which I won't show you because it's just too hard, are insulated poorly. Let's go with that. There's lots of voids in the insulation. And the garage door is simply a metal sheet. It is uninsulated, so it is not going to keep this car very warm. My guess is, from checking it with other tests that I've done, that the garage, when it's say minus 25, is probably going to be something close to minus 10, minus 12. And that's because while this garage is attached to my house, so it has some benefit, it is an unheated garage, and that's going to keep this pretty chilly. But it will keep it out of the wind, and that's a good thing. So let's see how it works out after a little bit more driving. All right, I've just opened my garage door. It's been sitting all night. Let's see what temperature the car thinks it is in my garage. All right. It thinks it is minus 16. See? And I only dropped a few kilometers overnight, which is a bit of a surprise. But that's good. And it's fictional anyway, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. All right, let's drive into work and see what we get. Yeah, I just went through the first stoplight on my drive-in, which is about, 8 Ks in. And I can see here that my car is at 280. So it's already dropped, you know, more than double the amount that it should have. Let's see what it is when I get to work. Something else to note is that I'm not performing any jackrabbit starts. I'm not pounding it off the line or doing anything silly like that. Also, I coast down to 0 at stoplights. I don't use the brakes very much. So the radio just made an announcement about the extreme cold warning that Environment Canada has released. It's minus 41 with wind chill, Celsius that is, and it's minus 32, I think, as far as just straight air temperature goes. As you can see here, the car thinks it's minus 28. Now Calgary is a reasonable sized city with, I think it's 1.3 million people, so different parts of the city definitely have different temperatures. Alright, so in the last 2 minutes, I have passed 2 vehicles that were broken down at the side of the road with steam coming out from under their hoods. One of which I stopped at and spoke to the women, and they said that their rad hose had broken, and so there's nothing much they can do. They're waiting for a tow. The other one I wasn't able to stop for, it just went by. There was also another vehicle that I passed earlier on the highway that was just pulled over at the side of the road and broken down. That's one of the advantages of having an electric vehicle like a Tesla. That is because there's 30% fewer parts, and those parts are mostly solid state. There really isn't much to break on it, especially during cold weather. So when I get in the car, I don't wait for it to warm up, I just get up and go, which makes an enormous difference in my enjoyment of driving. The cabin heater comes on and warms up immediately because it's electric. It doesn't have to wait for the engine to warm up. Also, the heated seats, of course, turn on. One of the disadvantages with the Model 3 is the steering wheel. They do not offer, at least they have not offered in the past, the heated steering wheel even as an option. That the wait for AAA for battery boosts or any other service, because there's so many people, is now 12 hours. So that's the good luck. If you had an electric, you probably wouldn't need that service. By the way, I have AAA. In Canada's case, it's CAA, and I love it. I use it for all kinds of things, so I'm not knocking CAA or AAA. I'm simply pointing out that if you have an electric, you probably don't need that type of service because your vehicle is just going to be that much more reliable. Alright, so here we are in the parking garage of my building. When I say my building, I'm speaking of my office. And you can see here that I have driven 47 kilometers total. Yet the vehicle is now at 234, meaning that it believes I have consumed 120 kilometers. That's off just a wee bit. Anyway, let's, I won't plug it in, which is super weird. It'll be the very first time I've ever not plugged it in my office. Okay, so let's take a little looky-loo. 24 hours in, the car has 214 kilometers left. It is minus 25, as you can see at the top here, and I've driven 69 kilometers, which means it's way off. So I went this way specifically to show you how even on the coldest days, and let's just zoom in here, and minus 26, even on the coldest days, people have to line up for gas. Well, at Costco they line up, of course, because it's so much cheaper, so much less expensive. And, you know, I never laugh at those people. I own a gas vehicle as well. I know a couple of my EV friends do chuckle at them. I think that's a bit silly and a bit childish. But I do feel sorry for them because that's crazy. I'll take even a small amount of electric power in a plug-in hybrid, you know, which covers 90% of my driving. If I get, you know, 30 kilometers out of it, you know, 20 miles, something like that. I'll take that any day over having to constantly fill up. You know, probably the average seems to be once a week for people. Certainly was for me and my family. Okay, so I just went to park and I realized I forgot my wallet. So I've got to drive all the way back home to get my wallet with my Costco card in it. So, off we go.
General Motors, of course, the biggest of the North American automakers, is making a big gamble on electric. They're going, maybe not quite all in, but they're going big on electric vehicles. A couple of weeks ago, GM announced that they were going to make the majority of their vehicles by 2035 electric vehicles. They made the point pretty clearly in a Super Bowl commercial. You might have seen it over the weekend.
Did you know that Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the US? Norway. Well, I won't stand for it. Come on. Never mind. With GM's new Ultium battery, we're gonna crush those losers. Crush them! Keenan, Norway's out EVing us. Grab an EV, meet me in Norway.
Okay, can I say goodbye to my family?
Nope.
All right.
GM's Ultium battery is made for all types of vehicles, so soon everyone can drive an EV. Hey, Norway, listen up, you fish-loving! Oh, this place is adorable. Damn it. Where are you guys?
We're in Finland. Where are you?
I'm in Norway!
Norway? You're in Sweden.
Damn it!
I saw the quote from you making the argument that maybe what GM is doing is even bigger in a way than the decision on Keystone XL. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, Keystone XL is a huge blow, of course. You know, to lose a potential avenue to move product from the oil sands, from the oil fields into the American market. And of course, that's where a lot of our attention has been. But, you know, GM is talking about fundamentally changing the way that vehicles are powered. And, you know, you do that and you really reduce the demand for gasoline. And suddenly, the oil sector is facing not just, you know, problems getting their product into a marketplace, but problems actually having a market at all.
I mean, you know, here in Alberta this week, we've been at, you know, minus 30 or colder. So can electric vehicles hold up under that?
We are seeing an expanded charging network right across the country, and we are seeing better and better technologies at managing those batteries.
It's now showing minus 25, so I have 99 kilometers left for our American and British friends, and lots of other places in the world, I suppose. That is 60 miles. And so far, I have driven 104 kilometers, so that is 62 miles. Not great. At this rate, I am going to get about 150 kilometers out of this full tank of electrons, out of the full charge. Okay, so I've got one stop done. I have another quick stop, and you can see I'm down to 48 kilometers, and I've driven a grand total of 128. Not good.
January 6th, House Democrats say all roads lead back to the former president. Donald Trump surrendered.
I'm here. So outside it was about minus 30. It's warming up now that I'm in the garage here. It says minus 21, as you can see. Shocker, battery's low. No kidding. Thanks, Tesla. Really low. And if you're thinking, wow, something just must be wrong beyond the vehicle, there's just no way. I know people with battery electric vehicles and other Teslas, and they don't make that claim. Well, that's because one of the great benefits of having an electric car is you charge up at home and in the office, which means your battery's always full, which means most people will never know that the range is that bad in extreme cold. They're only driving 5, 10, 20 kilometers at any given time, probably well in excess of 95% of the time. They won't even notice. And you can see that on my 402 kilometer battery, that I can only charge to 354 kilometers, that in extreme cold weather, I get about 150 kilometers. Now, that sounds cranky. The fact is, I only need probably 50 or 60 kilometers on any given trip. Most trips, I need 22 kilometers. That's my distance from work to home. So 154 is way more than I need. So this is still just fine. But there's no way I could run this as my only vehicle. If I had only one vehicle, it would be a plug-in hybrid so that I can go anywhere without limitations, which is especially important in these crazy cold weather conditions. Oh, and before you say, oh, there's something wrong with this guy's car, he should take it in, I have. It's been into Tesla twice to have them look at it, and they say, nope, this is just fine. This is what it's supposed to get. Thank God the battery has a reservoir of an additional 20 kilometers it doesn't tell you about. In the winter, I'm guessing that that's more like 12 or 13 kilometers, and in extreme cold, it's probably more like 8 or 9. But as you can see, I certainly used that here because I hit zero, well, more than 2 kilometers ago. I still just love my Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, but it's unfair for Tesla fanboys to glorify it and say that it is perfect in every way and that there aren't any problems and it can't be improved in any meaningful way and that we don't need more chargers and so on and so forth. The vehicle has limitations. Now, fortunately, they're limitations that don't bother me very much. They don't affect my life in some gigantically negative way, but those limitations are real. And if you're like a friend of mine who wants to drive to Lake Louise from Calgary every weekend, he's going to have to buy himself a Lincoln plug-in hybrid because there's just no way, even with the extended range battery that Tesla offers, that he can get from Calgary to the mountains, have it sit all day, and then get all the way back to his house. It's about a 550 kilometer round trip for him, and there's just no way that's going to happen in cold weather. So a plug-in hybrid makes an awful lot of sense for somebody like that. I personally will never own a vehicle that isn't a plug-in. I like plug-in hybrids. I think there's a lot of market for them. I think they make a lot of sense. As far as manufacturing goes, they make less sense because you have the negatives of both systems. However, as a consumer, I don't care. A plug-in hybrid has 8 years of warranty, and I don't keep cars anywhere near that long. So I couldn't care less what goes wrong with it. And for the record, I've owned 3 plug-in hybrids, and all of them worked beautifully. No troubles at all. So if you like this video, it'd be really great if you would click the like button below, as it really helps us with the Google algorithm. And if you're interested in electric vehicles, the energy industry, high technology, things like that, please click subscribe because that's the kind of thing we talk about. Thanks.